Call the Whatcom County Council meeting to order. It is July 9th, 2013. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner?
Yeah, here.
Sam Crawford?
Here.
Kathy Kershner?
Here.
Bill Knutzen?
Here.
Pete Kremen?
Here.
Ken Man?
Here.
Carl Weimer?
Here.
All right, and if you'll all stand and join me in saluting the flag. All right. Thank you, and welcome to everybody in the audience. If you'll please turn off your cell phone, we appreciate that. And if you're going to be handing out any paperwork to council members tonight, if you'll leave a copy here at our clerk's desk for the public record, that would be appreciated. It looks like we've got 7 sets of minutes here for approval. We've got the Special Committee of the Whole for May 21st, 2013, the regular County Council for May 21st, 2013, Special Committee of the Whole, Morning Rural Element Discussion for June 4th, 2013, Special Committee of the Whole, Afternoon Jail Planning Update, June 4th, 2013, Regular County Council for June 4th, 2013, Special Committee of the Whole for June 18th, 2013, and Committee of the Whole for June 18th, 2013.
Move approval.
Councilmember Knutzen moves to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, those minutes are approved 7-0. All right, and we have 3 public hearings tonight. We'll start with those. The first public hearing is on an ordinance closing a portion of Boundary Bay Road. Boundary Road. And it looks like nobody's signed up for that public hearing. Is there anybody that wishes to make a staff report? I don't know that we.
Question of staff after the hearing.
Oh, okay. Why don't we hold the staff report then, see if anybody wants to address the council. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to address the council on that issue? Seeing nobody, I'll open the public hearing and I'll close the public hearing. And it looks like Mr. Rutan is in the back, and Councilmember Crawford is going to move to approve and ask a question. Okay.
Yeah, move to approve the ordinance. I'm just wondering, Joe, is that permanently going to be closed? It said something about a cul-de-sac. So coming from the east, going west, is that going to now be a dead end?
Correct. Joeytown Public Works, yes.
And have we done any analysis, or did WashDOT or did the border people do any analysis of how much traffic uses that and what the impacts are? I looked at an aerial and I can see the next section you can just go around. So it's not like it's super remote to try to get across, but has anyone analyzed traffic patterns?
Besides going out and driving that, no, I did not analyze traffic patterns. I do have Chris Demisha with the WashDOT construction office here. He may be able to answer that question.
He left. Or nope.
Yeah, you have to come down. Sorry about that.
I did go out and drive it and look for any fatal flaws. And besides just the obvious, people that now can access there have to go another way, and maybe the additional would be an extra mile for the worst case.
And my name's Chris Demisha. I'm with the Washington State Department of Transportation here in Bellingham. To answer your question, no, we don't have any traffic data, but the observation and talking to the local residents, there are a lot of the traffic that's generated on Boundary Road are people jumping in line on to get into the queue to cross.
Yeah, I saw that in your letter. Yeah. But no real. The only thing I'm going to miss is when I do my circumnavigation of the county on my motorcycle. I like going across there, but granted, on the other side, on the west side of Meridian, there is no road next to the border, and so you have to go down to H, I think it is, or one of those. So, okay, I just was curious if anyone had looked at that. So the anecdotal evidence is it's not used a whole lot except by line cutters.
Correct.
Okay.
I think there's
Can you
residents on that section of road.
pull the microphone down and so that you're on our record? There you go.
I think there's 3 residents on that section of road.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Knutzen?
I know you had to purchase easements from most of those residents, but was there any consideration given to the residents that didn't have property that was acquired? Were there any compensation for their loss of access to the guide meridian?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
Well, there's like two rental houses there that you've got Vanderhawks that have most of the property, but then right next to them you have a little house. I forget who lives there, but now they're going to have to go down to, what is it, Benson Road to get out. They're no longer going to have access to the guide. They don't get any kind of compensation for that, do they?
Well, the access to the Vanderhawk property right there across from the duty-free, that'll still remain on the guide.
Right.
And are you referring to the little house that's right across the street from the duty-free, if you will, across Boundary?
No, it's where Vanderhawk's driveway goes to Boundary Road.
Oh, okay.
There's one just east of that it's just I think it's a rental house.
Yeah, and Mr. Vanderhawk's driveway on Boundary will still exist.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But the one I'm referring to is the house just east of that. That there's no kind of consideration or compensation given to someone like that for the impacts that they have.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, any further discussion?
You can cut him a check.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote. Will the clerk please call the roll? Oh, Councilmember Crawford?
No, I was going to make a smart aleck remark. So
No, that's okay. Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Sam Crawford,
yes.
Kathy Kershner,
Yes.
Bill Knutzen,
Yes.
Pete Kremen,
Yes.
Ken Man,
Yes.
Carl Weimer.
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-0. The second public hearing is an ordinance ordering the closure of Limestone Road east of Tilbury Road. And nobody signed up for that public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak to the council? All right, seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing. And what are the wishes of the council?
I'll move approval.
Councilmember Brenner moves approval. Any discussion? No questions about this one?
Oh, it was kind of confusing about where the drop-off is and stuff, but it doesn't matter. It looks like everybody's in favor of it. So.
Do you have a question?
No,
Okay.
I just couldn't picture what they were talking about. It sounded like where they're putting up a gate now where the dumping was, but maybe it was just the way the letter was written. I'm sure it's fine. Don't even spend any more time on it. I'm sorry
All right.
I brought it up.
Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Sam Crawford,
Yes.
Kathy Kershner,
Yes.
Bill Knutzen,
Yes.
Pete Kremen,
Yes.
Ken Man,
Yes.
Carl Weimer.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. And the third public hearing is an ordinance imposing an interim moratorium on the acceptance of new applications for divisions of land resulting in lots smaller than 5 acres within the Lake Whatcom watershed. This is a ordinance that's on our salmon-colored amendment packet. And we have nobody signed up for that public hearing either. So I will open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak to us on that issue? No?
Can't believe Dan McShane's not here.
Okay. Okay, seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing. And what are the wishes of the council?
I move approval.
Councilmember Kremen moves approval. Any discussion on this item? Because the only question I would have is if we impose this interim moratorium, but before the 6 months is over, we pass regulations for the lake Whatcom development that would take precedence over this. Can we pull this out? Okay, so we don't need to put a time limit on it or anything. We should just pass it as is, and then we can repeal it. Okay. All right. Any other discussion items on it? All right. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Sam Crawford,
Yes.
Kathy Kershner,
Yes.
Bill Knutzen,
Yes.
Pete Kremen,
Yes.
Ken Man,
Yes.
Carl Weimer.
Yes. Second time. I support last time because I got my amendment, so now I'm going to just...
So that passes 7-0
This moratorium?
with a side discussion over there that Councilmember Crawford has now voted for this 2 times because he got his amendment last time. All right. That's the public hearings for this evening, and so we'll now move into the open session. If you'd like to speak to us in open session, please line up behind the lines in the aisle. Please come up and state your name. For the record, you'll have 3 minutes to address the council on county business, and you'll be given a 30-second warning when your time is about up. So we'll go ahead and start here on this side. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Yoshi Ravel. Thank you, members of the audience, members of the County Council, Mr. County Executive. We're all familiar with the saying that we are what we eat. Scientific studies now are showing that we are also the words that we say, that we literally, the words that we speak the most, we become those words. They become part of us the more we speak them. And with that in mind, I'd like to read this. It's a song. I'm going to read it as a poem. I'm sure that you'll recognize it, but I hope it's some words that we speak more often. It's called Imagine. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions, I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a sisterhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening.
There you go.
My name is Lynn Pendleton, and I come to ask the County Council not to make the proposed changes to existing zoning that would allow slaughterhouses in the agricultural district. I believe that slaughterhouses are necessary if we want to maintain our access to local sources of food. However, they should not be permitted in agricultural districts. I'm concerned about the potential impact of slaughterhouse facilities on freshwater resources in Whatcom County. There are currently many demands on this important and finite resource. We all recognize the critical need to conserve and care for our water resources with prudence and wisdom. There are currently several slaughterhouse facilities available in Whatcom and Skagit counties. If a need develops for additional capacity in the future, they can be sited in areas zoned for industrial uses. The very nature of an animal slaughterhouse determines that it will require access to abundant water and that it will generate much potentially polluting waste. It's critical that this type of facility be located where waste can be handled in a manner that protects our water resources. Industrial zones have sewer and stormwater systems that are adequate to handle the blood, the offal, the manure, and the polluted water that would be produced by a slaughterhouse. Allowing slaughterhouses outside of these industrial zones will endanger our freshwater resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Brown, and I'm here tonight to speak in regards to the proposal to permit slaughtering facilities on agricultural lands. And I want to start by thanking you all for the time and process that you've each put into this proposal to address some of the public concerns of this ordinance, such as the setbacks, percentage of grown locally, wastewater treatment, and some aquifer protection. However, the public record, we've reviewed that, is 91% opposed to this ordinance, over 250 in opposition, 12 supporting it, for reasons that have not been adequately addressed in committee. These include the need for a supply and demand analysis, evaluating placing these in the RIM zones or the industrial zones. It's actually an error right now in the ordinance saying that these could only be put in RIM. That's not true. They can be placed in industrial zones. Protection of wellheads, since these are not in high vulnerability areas. Water quantity analysis, and others. I'm unsure why this has moved to introduction from committee, ignoring the overwhelming majority of your constituents' concerns. And I ask that you either send this back to committee to address these concerns or vote no, as the majority of the public has asked you to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Bonnie Joy Barker, 3690 Hillside Road, Deming, Washington. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to you on the issue of slaughterhouses. She just said that words define us. And think about that word, slaughterhouse. Is that what we want here in Whatcom County? I am from a farming family, and I understand the need to slaughter animals for food. But there's a good way and there's a bad way to do business. And to industrialize the slaughtering of animals is a bad way of doing business. Now, there are mom and pop operations in the county. I say we stick with that way of doing business. My neighbors have somebody that comes out in a van and slaughters their animals for food. Animals are not commodities. Animals are beings. We are beings. Think very long and hard on this. And please, I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of my friends are musicians, and they can't be here because they're gigging somewhere. We don't want these large slaughterhouses in Whatcom County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Greg Brown, Whatcom County. I'm here to listen to the music. I'm from a farming community, too, called Whatcom County, and I can speak for the majority of the county people, too, that say we want slaughterhouses. And I have no problem putting them on ag land where the cows are grown. I can't understand taking them anywhere else. So I can make up fictitious numbers and tell you all you want to know, but yes, we need slaughterhouse packing houses in Whatcom County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Wendy Harris. I'm asking the council not to introduce the packing house ordinance tonight because this is not a rezone that should be approved. I appreciate the effort made recently to protect water quality, but this does not compensate for the fact that there's no need for industrial development in our ag zone. The ordinance lacks evidence explaining why the current RIM zone is not adequate for additional slaughtering and processing facilities. Mr. Fleischman advised me that there are a number of undeveloped properties available in the RIM, totaling about 35 to 40 acres. If there's no documented need for a rezone, why is it occurring? County residents are sick and tired of this council leading us into GMA noncompliance in order to defend the property rights of a few. And really, without a legitimate need for a rezone, that's what this ordinance is about, property rights. Not about local food, not about support for small organic farmers, not about ag viability, it's about property rights. And this is the agenda of a small minority of ag landowners. How do I know this? Because a recent analysis of written comments and petition signatures received by the council indicated that 95% of the public is opposed to this ordinance, and 95% opposed includes a fair amount of farmers. During an election cycle, that should mean something. I'm also asking the council to consider the recent hearings board decision that the county is failing to protect rural water quality and quantity. The ordinance does nothing to address problems with water availability, and by encouraging new competing industrial water users, it actually jeopardizes ag viability. The county needs to know how much water is available in the county through development of a water supply plan before it creates additional and competing demands from an extremely water-intensive industry. I find it extremely hypocritical that some of the same farmers advocating for packing house rezones are also complaining about the lack of water rights for the ag community. This is self-entitlement, not agricultural advocacy. The ordinance fails to protect ag land from conversion to industrial use, resulting in fragmentation of our ag base. The ordinance permits construction of packing houses on prime soil ag land, even where it is not feasible to avoid impacts. How is that planning for the long-term viability of ag land, and how is that in compliance with the GMA? The SEPA issue is not resolved. You cannot rely upon a SEPA determination for small-scale slaughter facilities to cover the impacts of medium-sized meat packing plants. I could go on, but in short, this is a bad ordinance that reflects a bad idea, and it should not be moving forward. Please vote against the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. And if you'd like to speak in open session, please line up behind the signs.
Max Perry, Whatcom County. And I hadn't planned to speak on this, but listening to the previous ones that need to be spoken to on the advocacy for the farming community. If we want farmers, if you want ag land and people working that soil, well, then you have to make it feasible for them to be able to utilize their animals, utilize their land, utilize their people, make a living on it. And if it becomes a real emotional, we can write form letters. We can have a write-in to you that say, "Oh yeah, we're have hundreds in favor of the packing houses in the ag land." But I think it's just something that the farmers need to have the availability of that. And if you think about it, and you think of let the trucks come to the farm. Well, if you've ever seen an animal slaughtered on the farm, where does that blood go? Where does everything else go? That when you dress that animal that's on the farm, it's not protected there at all. A packing house would be fully up to code with all the ecological safety valves and clean and contained, and the water quality would be better than it is now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Came in just at the right moment, didn't you?
I'm so excited to be here, too. I know you. I just got my boat tabs today. AIS.
Okay, say who you are.
I don't want to. Donna Clark. Hey, we've got some little parcels along Lake Whatcom that are creating quite a problem. I think we don't have Little John's, honey buckets, or anything. And this city park, right by Manor Lane, I can't say it. Right there by Silver Shores, that's a little bit of city property, but it has no honey bucket. And now they're having boats out there, too. So we better start thinking about these little pieces of property the city and the county are purchasing. And now the little egg blue house right below has been purchased by the city off of Toad Lake Hill. And it's been condemned, too. Why would that be? Just a little, trivia I hear every day. And so also we have this other lands that are being purchased by the county, this lake property, which is fine. But if they're going to be able to pee in the lake, I don't think so. So please, we have to have some honey buckets these people have. We have to have them. Where are they going to go? The horse before the cart, please. And I do think we should have a rendering plant and get on with life. Put it into more important things. Not parks either.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, see nobody else lined up for the open session. I will close the open session. Thank you for your comments tonight. We'll move on to our consent agenda. Councilmember Man.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the consent agenda, we had 8 items. All 8 items came with a 3-0 recommendation for approval from the Finance Committee, and I move approval of the consent agenda.
And item number 8 was the replacement with the pink
Correct.
cover on it. Okay.
I should have said that. Yes, it's the replaced version with a clean version.
All right. Any discussion? Councilmember Brenner?
I just want to be sure that kibble thing is not part of it.
That's under the next section.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes 7-0. And Councilmember Mann, item number 1.
Actually,
oh, wait, no, it's not
you're
Councilmember
right.
Mann. It's Councilmember Weimer.
Yes, in Natural Resources this morning, we had an interlocal agreement with the City of Bellingham regarding administration of the Homeowner Incentive Program, and that came forward with a recommendation of 3-0, and I so move.
All right, any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes 7-0. Okay, back to Councilmember Mann, item number 2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request for the county executive to enter into a contract between the county and Kibble and Prentice for benefit consultation services for the self-insured medical program in the amount of $45,000 for 2014, $46,500 for 2015, and $48,000 in 2016. We recommended this 3-0 in committee, and I move approval.
All right, Councilmember Brenner.
Well, I don't support a 3-year contract anyway. I'll just try and put this out. I move to amend it to have it for 1 year. And can I speak to that?
Yes.
Okay. I was so unimpressed with the terrible job they did on trying to inform the county employees. Then today I asked the person who was here representing them all, and he's like vice president of something, and he said, "Oh, I don't mean to be flippant," but he was very flippant. And we don't, because I asked him. I said, "Well, have you looked into this? Have you looked?" Well, I don't do. That's up to the county. And what are we getting consultation for? Is what I'd like to know. If they're not coming up with some ideas and not just saying, "Okay, you decide what you want, and then come talk to us, and we'll try and get you the best deal." We don't even know that they're getting the best deal, and I'm not. I have no confidence at all at this point in them. But I will say I won't say anymore if you just do it for a year instead of 3.
So, Councilmember Mann, do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I don't want to accept it as a friendly amendment, but I could be persuaded to support it anyway. But I'm sorry, I don't want to accept it as a friendly amendment.
So you're just moving to amend. Councilmember Crawford?
I think it's out of order. The contractor's already signed the contract, as has county administration. I think the process would be we would have to reject this contract and do a new one, or can we just take a contract that they've already agreed to? Because the cost is spread out over 3 years, and I don't know that the contractor would be amenable to that, would they?
That's why I didn't accept it as a friendly amendment.
Yeah,
I feel like we need to know this.
I don't know anything about the background on this contract, but as a general proposition, you could just approve 1 year. That doesn't mean that they will accept it, but I think it's within your prerogative to do that.
I'd like to know if the executive.
Councilmember Mann?
Sorry, Madam Chair. Do you know of any reason why this would be gum up the works at all? I don't see why it would, but I just would want to check with you before I supported that.
Well, I think that our attorney said it correctly. I don't know whether they would accept a 1 year contract on this if we came back to them on it. I would encourage the council to adopt the 3 year plan that we've put together. This is a professional consulting firm that goes out onto the open market and the reinsurance market and provides us with the information to, in the best possible way, to us to present good packages for our employees. Last year was difficult. I think that they explained that very well of why it was, and I have confidence in them that we will be able to shore up some of the inadequacies of last year moving forward. I don't know how many years Kibble and Prentice has been our benefits advisor, but I think it's been quite a few, and they've done a good job. And I trust the committee that went through this this RFQ process, Dan Gibson, Karen Goins, representative from the Northwest Regional Council, and there was one or two
Pat
other
Atkinson.
people. Yes. And I believe that they're going to do a good job for us. It would be, I think, in the best interest of the county for the council to approve this for 3 years. This is not out of line or out of order from what we've done previously. and we do it with a lot of other contracts. So,
Councilmember Mann.
Okay, well, and I appreciate that, and I understand that. I think they have been our benefits consultant for a long time, and maybe when you have a nice government contract like that, you need to be kept on your toes a little bit. And yes, last year was difficult circumstances, and there was widespread complaints and upset and firsthand witnesses by council members. So I think if we can keep them for a year and let them know you need to redeem yourselves a little bit and treat us, give us your best effort every year. I think that's an okay message to send. So I'll support Ms. Brenner's amendment, but I want to vote on it, not as a friendly amendment.
Any further discussion on Councilmember Brenner's amendment? All right. Councilmember Knutzen.
So let me be clear on this. So her amendment was to just do a one-year contract?
Yes.
And that's legal?
We just heard from the attorney.
Okay.
Yes, it's entirely legal.
Okay.
You have the ability to amend it in any way that you feel appropriate. That doesn't mean that our benefits consultant will accept it because they have this contract in front of them. And if you would like to make it a 3-year deal with making it so that you have to approve it on a yearly basis, or what I'm hearing is you want it to be a firm 1-year contract. That's what Ms. Brenner's amended motion is. Then we will go back to them and say, hey, the council is going to approve this, but only on a 1-year basis. And we'll get back to you whether they say yes or no. And if they say yes, we'll sign the thing up. It's not, I don't think it's that big a deal one way or the other. Although I think that I have the confidence in them and be very comfortable in signing a 3-year contract with them.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Councilmember Brenner's amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. That passes 5-2 with Councilmember Weimer. Were you an aye?
I was a no.
You were a no. Okay, so that passes 4-3. Councilmembers Crawford, Kershner, and Weimer opposed.
No.
So.
He voted no. I voted no.
Oh, you did? One?
Now it passed.
Okay, good.
So now we need to vote on passing the amended version.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Do we? And whose motion is that then? Still Councilmember Mann's? Okay, so it's amended. Okay, so any discussion on the amended version of this contract? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 7-0.
And the next item from Finance is a request for approval of the Economic Development Investment Board's recommendation for EDI funding. This comes from committee with a 1-2 recommendation for approval, meaning it failed in committee, but for the purposes of proper procedure, I recommend approval of the EDI Board funding application for Nooksack.
Okay, is there a discussion on this item? Councilmember Brenner?
Yeah, I think it's important that we keep it in mind that the EDI fund is a dedicated fund paid into by all the jurisdictions as well as the unincorporated area. And because I keep hearing, oh, well, why should we give them? First of all, it's 2/3 loan, 1/3 grant. But even if it wasn't, it was passed by the EDI board, which is the board that got set up to make these recommendations, and we've used the money for this type of public facility before. And I just, it's not our money. It's we have the final word on it, but it isn't our money. It's everybody's money. And this was a group, the board is made up of lots of different parts of the economic development community, and I feel like, I think it's important that we pass this.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Councilmember Mann?
I don't disagree with anything Ms. Brenner just said, but I think our job is to weigh things in a gray area. It's not black and white, and we don't ever just rubber stamp things that are recommended by our advisory bodies. So for me, using economic development funds to some as a loan and some as a grant to pay for a city's water treatment plant is just, it doesn't match up for me. Like, that's what cities are supposed to do. Their ratepayers should pay for the water and the sewer, and we should be using our EDI funding for, I think, things where there's a clear and direct nexus between the project and economic development. And I've made this argument before, and I don't generally get much agreement up here, but that's okay. So that's why I'm voting against it, but I just wanted to say why.
Councilmember Kremen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Although I ultimately agree with the position taken by Councilmember Brenner, I do have to dispute the fact that everybody pays into this. The fact is that this rural sales tax applies to 31 of the 39 counties in Washington State and was really established to, in a small way, compensate counties for the oversight of the ability to generate revenues due to the Growth Management Act. And that was really the main driver or impetus or rationale for setting up the rural sales tax. It was Whatcom County, the administration and the county council, adopting a policy of taking the rural sales tax that the county imposed. Each county had the opportunity to implement this tax, which was really tax that would be going to the state otherwise. Whatcom County was one of the first counties to impose the tax that was going to go to the state anyway and use it for economic development purposes so that we could be self-sustaining. We took it upon ourselves, unlike almost all the other counties. I don't think there's another county that did what we did to be equitable to the municipalities within Whatcom County. What we did was set up a fund out of the rural sales tax that 60% stayed in this rural sales tax definition, and then we took 40% of that rural sales tax and put it into an economic development board fund, an EDI, Economic Development Investment Fund. And within that fund, we enabled municipalities to use that fund and distribute that fund so that they could provide for economic development within their jurisdictions. I'm going to support the request from the city of Nooksack. I look at, and the reason I'm doing it is because I think there is some, in spite of the fact that it's a water treatment facility that municipalities are usually responsible for, but it also needed infrastructure for the potential for economic development. If you don't have an adequate water treatment facility, you don't have much chance of providing for economic development into the future, because it's essential for economic development, as well as for the residents of the municipality. So I think that this is a prudent way to utilize the EDI funds. I think it's equitable, especially for the city of Nooksack. I look at through the years where Whatcom County has distributed these EDI funds, and to my knowledge, I know that the city of Linden has received a significant portion of those funds through the years. The city of Sumas has received funds, significant funds. The city of Ferndale, the Blaine Boardwalk, and to my recollection, the city of Nooksack really has not been able to utilize or have access to these funds through the years, and I think it's been about 10 or 12 years since this fund had been established. So I think it's first of all, I think it's justified, and I also think it's equitable for us to approve this request from the city of Nooksack.
Okay, Councilmember Weimer.
Well, I was the other one that voted against this morning, but for slightly different reasons. My reasoning was, it says right in the application that both Everson and Nooksack are waiting on the Department of Ecology's decision about whether they're going to fund the majority of this. Normally, these sewer treatment plants are funded by the Department of Ecology through Clean Water Act information, and there's some information the executive brought out that funding is starting to dry up, but they haven't been told this. So this project is on hold anyway for Everson until they find out whether they're getting funding from Ecology. So I can't vote for this using our local money if it's possible the state's going to fund this. So I'd like to make a motion that we put a clause in this that this goes forward only once the Department of Ecology has turned down the funding, because I have no problem paying for this if the Department of Ecology won't. But I don't think we should be using our funding instead of the Department of Ecology, and it says right in the application that neither city has heard yet from the Department of Ecology for the majority of this funding. So that's my motion, that we put a clause in this that this may go forward once the Department of Ecology turns down the funding for this.
Okay, Councilmember Weimer is making a motion to amend. Councilmember Kremen and then Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if the maker of the motion would accept this as either a friendly amendment or a modification of what you're trying to attain, and that is that the money requested from the EDI fund would be last money in.
Right, but so they'd have to wait to hear from Ecology before they would know whether it's the last money.
No, but his motion.
Councilmember Crawford.
But his motion is that we will only pay it if they don't. It's not last money in.
Well, they may pay a portion of it. Ecology may pay part of it, none of it, or all of it. And if they pay all of it, then we wouldn't have to pay anything.
Right. I certainly accept that as a friendly amendment, the last money in.
But you're saying the money isn't there if...
We don't know if the money is there. Ecology
and can only be there if the Ecology turns it down. Isn't that what your motion is? We will only pay this if Ecology doesn't provide a grant.
Right. If
and then you're agreeing to say that if Ecology provides a grant, we're the last money in. I don't understand.
Well, Ecology may come forward with 300 out of the 720, and then we'd be on the hook for the 400,000.
Okay. Well, I'd like to speak against the motion. On the Transportation Improvement Board, we virtually always require a local match, and I don't know how Ecology operates on this, but I would suggest that there's probably some assumption that this will actually increase the scoring, because most of these are evaluated through some objective system of scoring. If there's this local match that we provided, then that creates a viability for the funding from the state. At least that's the way it works with roads and transportation and stuff like that. So I would strongly encourage the council to keep this on track and do this. A couple other things I'd like to say. I know the executive's waiting here, but as long as I was recognized by the chair here. This is a good growth management exercise, too, because if you read the application, this is helping a city where we have said the growth should go. And they talk about the boarded up businesses and so forth in Nooksack, that there's some potential, but because they're at hookup capacity now, that some of these places can't move forward without the expanded capacity in the plant. So, with all the talk about, should we have development in the rural areas of the county, at least this continues to send a signal that we're supporting the development and the infill of our cities, and that was one point that was stressed in the thing. There was another thing that said something about environmental, and I don't. They said there was an environmental benefit, and I'm not sure what they were talking about. I'm not sure if the current plant, without the upgrades, is affected by the flooding that occurs there in Nooksack either. But so we've got an environmental benefit that they're claiming. I don't know the details of that. We've got the growth management aspect that it's assisting a city with infill plans that we're trying to encourage, and all the other, I think, good reasons. And then as far as the motion to amend right now, I'm concerned that that would be looked at in terms of making the match more complicated by the Department of Ecology, or less viable, scoring less points because we are not providing the money.
If I can respond to that.
Councilmember Weimer?
This certainly isn't included as a match. They've asked the Department of Ecology for the same full amount that they're asking for us. It's if they don't get the money from ecology, they wanted to use the EDI money. It's
I'm sorry,
not a match.
I thought you said Everson was asking ecology and Nooksack was asking us.
Yeah, Everson's asked for the same large chunk, but we don't have Everson's application, so
But
I don't
Nooksack,
know if Nooksack's is being used as match or not. But both Nooksack and Everson have asked ecology for a big chunk of this project. And it's not as match. There's already city money in as a small piece of match, about 10%.
Executive Laus, do you know if there's a timeline on Department of Ecology getting back to Everson and Nooksack?
I don't know that. Roland Harper this afternoon said that he would attempt to find an answer of when ecology would be responding to the council or to the city of Nooksack, and I did not receive an email pertaining to it, and I'm assuming that you folks didn't either. I think Councilmember Crawford articulated many of my concerns that I was going to share. I think the city of Nooksack is looking for the grant money more than they are the loan money. And I am not sure whether the ecology, the clean water money out of ecology, whether that's grant money or whether that's loan money. And it seems to me that when I was with the city of Linden, that all of the work that we did on the enterprise funds was available through loan, but the city was responsible for paying for 100% of it. So I may be assuming, but I believe that the city of Nooksack is requesting a loan of the Department of Ecology. So although the motion would work, this one, without the ability to consult with the city of Nooksack, it would be difficult for me to say whether the amendment would throw a wrench into their application with the Department of Ecology. And I think Councilmember Crawford articulated that well, that having that local match approved is going to give them the ability to score higher. So I'd encourage the council to accept the recommendations of the EDI board and move this through for approval.
Okay, Councilmember Knutzen?
Yeah, I'm going to speak against the motion as well. This came with a unanimous 8-0 approval, and the city of Nooksack does need this. So that being said, I think it's a worthwhile project. I think it's something we should do, and it's $520,000 of it is a loan that will be paid back. So I'm going to support it as it currently sits.
All right, any other discussion on the motion to amend? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
All right, that fails with Councilmembers Kremen and Weimer voting yes. Councilmember Brenner.
I just wanted to add to what Councilmember Kremen said when he made his comments. I agree with everything he said. I don't see how that is really contrary to anything I said.
I'm gonna vote yes on this. So
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure you didn't think I was thinking anything different. That was good. And I do want to make sure that I like that you brought up the part that if we didn't use that money and set this up, it would just, the states are tax dollars too, but it would go right to the state instead of us being able to use it locally. So it was a win-win, I think.
Councilmember Kremen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this has been a real good discussion. I'm supportive of the request to begin with. I do think it would be optimum and more desirable if the state were to pay for a portion, if not the lion's share or the total amount, if they were so inclined. Chances are that probably wouldn't be the case anyway. I was just trying to, hope for something that more than likely was never going to happen anyway. I think that this is a good request. I think it's a good project. I certainly think that the cities of Nooksack and Everson are, deserving of having an opportunity to access this fund that, to my knowledge, we're the only one in the entire state, well, the only one in the entire 31 counties that receive these rural sales tax funds to have access to them and use them to the benefits of their constituents and their communities. So I'm going to support this, and I did have one question, and that was, what rate are we now? It's still 1%. Okay, thank you. That clarifies a question that the mayor of Nooksack asked of me, and I wasn't sure, but I did indicate to him that unless things had changed, which apparently they haven't, it would be 1%. So 60% of the loan will be at, or 60% of the monies requested will be a loan at 1%. Okay, thank you very much, and I appreciate the chair giving me an opportunity to ask these questions and yak on for a little while.
Okay. Councilmember Mann?
And I agree with Mr. Kremen. This is an interesting conversation, and there is no clear answer sometimes to what's going to happen. And Mr. Crawford just brought up, don't we want to encourage infill? And certainly, yeah, no one believes that more than I do want to encourage infill in all of our cities. And the problem for me with that argument is I could just as easily make the opposite argument, which is, great, now we're going to help them upgrade their sewer treatment plant, and then they're going to fill up their UGA on the outskirts of Nooksack and come to us in 2016 and ask for an expansion of the UGA into their floodplain or into their farming ground next to it. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't know exactly the outcomes of a lot of these land use decisions we make. I'm really arguing for this on principle that I think that's what cities do, is they should fund their own infrastructure to a large degree. And I know the EDI fund is it's very specifically allowed to be used for infrastructure. So at some point I may have to reevaluate my feelings on this. But, I did vote against the Linden water treatment plant upgrade too. So for me, I don't have the equity issue that we have to vote yes for Nooksack just because we voted yes for Linden. Because I'm voted no on both now. So anyway, I am conflicted, but I believe, cities, that's what cities do. They pay for their own infrastructure, their own water, and I think they should choose their priorities and fund it themselves.
Councilmember Brenner.
Yeah, well, just because Councilmember Mann brought up the comparison of maybe they do their floodplain and this or that, I just want to make sure people understand Nooksack and Everson have been really good about giving up land in the floodplain and working with the county to, make sure that they're squeezing whatever they can without negatively impacting floodplains and ag land. And if anybody's done a good job, they really have. So I know you were just saying that as a kind of, maybe that could happen.
I was just trying to paint a picture.
Yeah, and yeah. I just kind of wanted to black it out.
Okay, yes, I love Nooksack too.
Councilmember Kremen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make it brief. I do want to concur with Councilmember Mann about rubber stamping anything that comes from the EDI, because if you'll recall, the EDI board overwhelmingly recommended to to the County Council to approve $600,000 for a study for a terrarium, which I didn't sign, and it never happened. And it put insult to injury. It also was for a California firm to do the consulting. So I agree that that the council should not always rubber stamp what the EDI board recommends to the council. But in this case, I am going to support it.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, that passes 6-1. Councilmember Mann opposed. And item number 4 is from the Public Works, Health and Safety Committee. Councilmember Brenner.
Whoops. Okay, yeah, that's the resolution to recognize the role of the WIRA 1 Planning Unit to assist the Whatcom County Council regarding water resources. That's a mouthful. We made some changes in committee today, and there's a new version that's fresh off the press. It's going to be on the website, and it's going to be available at the council office. What I asked to do in committee was that we allow this to be out there for the next 2 weeks, and then we will deal with it under other business at our next council meeting, because I don't want anybody to feel like words. I want to say it the way Councilmember Mann said it, but something to the effect that every word is very important. So we made enough changes that people should look at every word.
Okay, so we're going to hold this for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
Okay.
No.
Do we need a motion to hold that? Councilmember Crawford?
I'm just kind of curious, has this had any review from the prosecutor's office?
He was the one who made the changes.
Oh, okay.
And he made them in consultation with Bob Carmichael, who used to be our county attorney. He was representing the water district, whatever it is, caucus thing. So, yeah, they worked on it.
Good, okay.
Yeah, I was real pleased that it was. And then in committee today, since I'm talking about it, there was great participation from a lot of different people in the community, and I found it very impressive.
It'd be nice to have on the cover sheet the prosecutor's box initialed by Dan Gibson. Why don't you see if you can get that in the next week or two? Oh, that's good.
You get it. But I mean,
well,
just
was
listen.
it Dan that was here today?
Yeah,
he
just
was here
listen
today.
to the tape. He was right on tape doing this.
Good.
Okay, Councilmember Mann.
Just wanted to point out that Section 6 of the now therefore be it resolved has some brackets around some proposed or suggested language, Ms. Brenner, which we kicked around in committee but didn't actually vote to approve or insert or make as a change. So I just didn't know how you wanted to handle that. I didn't know if you'd seen.
Yeah, the bracket, my understanding was the bracket is what's being removed.
No, in section.
It would be struck. It would be a line through.
In section 6, remember I brought up the question about using that word approve?
Yeah.
And I didn't know Dan was going to do this, but I see the brackets right after that word, and it says, I think he's saying maybe you could use this language instead of the word approve.
Provide appropriate recommendations.
Provide appropriate recommendations on, for those of you who don't have it with you.
Well, yeah, because there was a place where he had changed it after we changed the language after approved to say to be very specific about approved.
Well,
what.
I don't
Well,
think.
maybe he did. I don't know.
We talked about it a bit in committee, and I said, you know what, I retract my concerns about the use of the word approve. And but then I looked at it and I saw that Dan had inserted these brackets. So that's optional language. I just wanted to make sure you had seen it, everyone else had seen it. I don't know if we need to do anything about it tonight.
Maybe.
I think he's giving us an option.
I think we should take the word provide out then and say approve appropriate recommendations on. Because you can't say approve.
Okay,
provide.
well, we can't work on it now because you held it in your committee.
Okay, and that's just one thing. So
that's just a point of order.
No,
right.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you guys can work on that in the next 2 weeks, and then the committee get it souped up for council.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Chair. First on our docket was an ordinance to enter into a use permit 2012-00001. And this came with a 3-0 recommendation, and I recommend approval.
All right. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner?
Yes.
Sam Crawford?
Yes.
Kathy Kershner?
Yes.
Bill Knutzen?
Yes.
Pete Kremen?
Yes.
Ken Man?
Yes.
Carl Weimer?
Yes.
All right. That passes 7-0.
Next on our docket was a resolution amending Whatcom County Code Resolution number 2013-007 to initiate changes to the Point Roberts character plan. And this came with a 3-0 recommendation also.
And you move approval?
And I move approval.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. That passes 7-0. And number 7.
Next came an ordinance repealing the 1986 Linden-Nooksack Valley Sub-Area Plan and amending provisions in the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan relating to sub-area plans. This came with a recommendation to forward for concurrent review, 3-0, and I recommend approval.
You recommend moving forward for concurrent review?
Would that be the motion, or would I?
Yeah, that's
I
the
move
motion.
forward for concurrent review.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? All right. Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner?
Yes.
Sam Crawford?
Yes.
Kathy Kershner?
Yes.
Bill Knutzen?
Yes.
Pete Kremen?
Yes.
Ken Man?
Yes.
Carl Weimer?
Yes.
All right. That passes 7-0. Item number 8.
It was an ordinance repealing the 1987 Birch Bay Blaine Sub-Area Plan and amending provisions in the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan relating to sub-area plans. This came with a recommendation to forward for concurrent review, 3-0, and I recommend for concurrent review.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this item? All right. Seeing none, clerk please call the roll.
Barbara Brenner?
Yes.
Sam Crawford?
Yes.
Kathy Kershner?
Yes.
Bill Knutzen?
Yes.
Pete Kremen?
Yes.
Ken Man?
Yes.
Carl Weimer?
Yes.
Okay. That passes 7-0. And item number.
Yeah, I just think technically.
Okay.
So Councilmember Knutzen moved
Yeah.
to forward that for concurrent review. Let the record show. All right, item number 9.
Number 9 was an ordinance repealing the 1986 Chuckanut Lake Samish Sub-Area Plan and amending provisions to the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan relating to sub-area plans. This came with a 3-0 recommendation to forward for concurrent review, and I move that we forward for concurrent review.
All right, any discussion on this item? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner?
Yes.
Sam Crawford?
Yes.
Kathy Kershner?
Yes.
Bill Knutzen?
Yes.
Pete Kremen?
Yes.
Ken Man?
Yes.
Carl Weimer?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. And that brings us to our introduction items. Item number 9 has been pulled from introduction. So we've got items number 1 through 8. Is there a motion to accept?
Move to accept.
Councilmember Crawford moves to accept. Any discussion on these items?
Oh,
Councilmember Brenner?
Yeah, she was first.
I have a question. I don't remember why the packing house thing has been on for introduction. Now, I know we made some changes. I thought the next part was that we put it to the committee of the whole rather than our committee.
I looked it up today just to make sure from the last committee of the whole, and it was to be introduced tonight and have a public hearing at the next meeting.
Councilmember Mann?
Yeah, I just wanted to address the concerns that were brought up in open session. I agree that this code needs work on the packing houses, but I think we also really need to hear from the public and have a public hearing because it's been going on for a long time, and not everyone can make committee meetings. And I think we would benefit from a public hearing and having the discussion. So I will support introducing it.
Okay, any further discussion on accepting items 1 through 8? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion passed 7-0. And that brings us to other business. Councilmember Weimer, any other business?
Nope.
All right. Any other business down this way? All right. Then it brings us to reports, which I meant to say, Councilmember Weimer, any reports?
Nope.
Okay, Councilmember Knutzen.
Yes, tomorrow I will be attending the digester tour put on by the WSU Extension, and I look forward to it, as well as some news that is happening in the community with the digesters in one of the local facilities that had some problems getting rid of their waste that was a current packing house is currently sending their waste to a digester. And they seem to be having some very good results with that. And I look forward to getting something like that approved through the council eventually, because it is a perfect application, and that's another reason to locate packing houses in the ag zone.
Great. Councilmember Mann?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I have nothing to report. Councilmember Brenner?
I just want to say, and I speak as a council member and a person, my sympathies to Ellen Baker, whose house burned down a few days ago. And I just, whatever anyone's position on anything, she has always been so great about coming to our meetings and being involved. And I feel really bad for what happened. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Councilmember Kremen?
Well, I too, as long as you brought it up, Councilmember Brenner, it really was a tragedy, and my heart goes out to you and your family. I understand that you lost 3 of your pets, and I know how much that can affect you. I mean, I've lost 2 pets over the last couple of years, and it's devastating, and especially in the way that it happened. And my heart goes out to you and your family, and hope that the brighter days are ahead. I do have a report. A week ago today, I went down to Olympia to attend the Washington State Forest Board meeting with our Parks Department Director, Mr. McFarland, and I'm pleased to report, and I apologize, Donna, or Ms. Clark, the Forest Board did vote to give final approval to the reconveyance for the 8,800 acres in the Lake Whatcom watershed. So, if anyone's interested, the vote was 5-1, and if you're wondering who that one vote was, it was the representative from the liberal bastion of the University of Washington. So that's my report.
Interesting. Councilmember Crawford.
Not too much. I just was thinking I should probably mention that I don't know if you guys got contacted. Sunday apparently was a pretty bad day for drunken and unruly behavior on the South Fork of the Knutzen. And they did say I haven't talked to the sheriff about it. They did say numerous people contacted the sheriff, but I guess the pattern out there, with the warm summer days is things. I guess this is everything in life, kind of happen in swarms, and Sunday just happened to be a particular bad day. Quite a number of neighbors had encounters with people, and they were not positive at all. A lot of garbage, a lot of unruly behavior. One thought, and this isn't really a report, but just to throw the idea out there, we don't have to have a debate on it. One suggestion was that maybe if we passed an ordinance that said everybody had to wear life jackets, and another thought was an ordinance saying no drinking on the river, or just start. Yeah, I don't know.
It's state law.
It's state law. You can't drink on a river. Okay, well, I don't know what we're going to do then. Maybe get somebody out there to write more tickets or something. But I do feel for those people. Some of the behaviors that were described to me were literally on people's property, not on the river. People coming up on people's property and doing those bad things there, and then when challenged, the people respond that, "Oh, this isn't your property. This is state property, and I know it, and I can do whatever I want here." So, not a good situation. And on that happy note,
exactly.
All right.
I hope everybody had a good 4th of July.
Yes. On that note, we will adjourn.